Hey guys, I'm Midnight Siren, and today we're talking about another Soul Calibur theory. And if you haven't seen my first video on my first Soul Calibur theory, it's important you check it out because it kind of ties into this one. This one is actually the theory that Viola, who is a new character from Soul Calibur V, is actually Amy from Soul Calibur 3 and 4. Now, I've actually explored the idea in a fan fiction that I will post a link in the description if you want to check that out. It's a dramatic representation of this theory that includes some of my own ideas of how this could play out, but I'll explain all this later. Now, if you don't know what Soul Calibur is, it is a fighting game that takes place around the 1500s, and it's kind of the prequel-ish type thing to the Tekken franchise, which is also another fighting game. Now, this theory features two of the characters from it, Amy and Viola. Amy is closely related to Raphael. In fact, she's his foster daughter, who he took in at a young age. Amy was first seen in Soul Calibur 3, and she was also in 4, but she's noticeably gone from Soul Calibur 5, and that is when Viola comes in. Viola is a different type of character. She has a different fighting style. She doesn't really have a weapon. She uses this orb type thing in place of a sword or whatever, which makes her very unique, but at the same time, she is so similar to Amy, it makes one wonder what happened to Amy. Where is she? Why is she not in this one, even though Raphael is? So, I'm going to supply you guys with some proof that I pulled up from the internet. Some of it is actually my own observations. Now, this is more the smaller stuff, and I'll clearly state when this is my ideas, but let's just get right into the first set of proof. The very first thing you notice when starting Soul Calibur 5 and looking at the character lineup is the new characters. When I first saw Viola, I asked, where is Amy? This is because the two characters look strikingly identical. Their faces are the exact same model. Their eyes are both red, and considering that Raphael and Amy were the only two former characters who had that eye color due to their, quote, vampirism, it is odd that another non-vampire would have crimson irises. The vampire theme would also explain Viola's pale skin in association with the moon. However, some people also believe that Viola had lost pigmentation from her constant use of magic, which would result in the pale skin, odd eyes, and white hair. This suggestion would also be a good explanation as to why Amy's red hair would have turned white. Both characters are exceptionally short compared to the other characters. Even though Viola seems a bit taller, this could be due to another reason that I will explain later. Both Viola and Amy have incredibly similar outfits as well. Their hair, for starters, both features the same single curls on each side. They both wear, as some call it, gothic Lolita-style dresses with poofy skirts, lace chokers, lace stockings, and heels. Roses are a common motif in their designs, appearing in both 1P and 2P outfits of both Viola and Amy. Amy's stockings in Soul Calibur 4 even have butterflies woven into them, while Viola has stockings with moths trapped in spiderwebs. Viola's stockings are sometimes thought to be a reference to how she may be, quote, entangled in something difficult that she shouldn't be involved in and hasn't been able to free herself. My theory to this idea is that perhaps her loss of memory has placed her within the company of her former enemies, or Raphael's enemies. Because she can't remember herself, she's not able to free herself from within their grasp. Viola and Amy also share the same English and Japanese voice actresses. They have similar moves. Beads that decorate Viola's forehead, chest, and cape seem to spell out a group of A's. A, of course, would stand for Amy. This could be a coincidence, but even so, it is a great supporter to the theory. Viola's link to Amy can also be found through Raphael himself. She has a red crystal on her choker that greatly resembles the red crystal on his bat ornament from Soul Calibur 4. Viola is linked to a Castlevania character just as Raphael is. Viola calls Patroclus dog, just as Graf Dumas does, which links to the theory that Raphael may be Graf Dumas. I have found a few links between the two myself, though they are both small and may be coincidental. I feel that they need to be pondered. One of Viola's unblockable moves are mapped to the same combination as one of Raphael's unblockable. Both Raphael and Viola share the same stage, Unknown Forest, in Soulcalibur V, though Viola's is during the day and Raphael's is at night. Statements that Raphael make during matches against Viola offer insight into her connection to his foster daughter. When first meeting Viola in battle, he will state angrily, "You vex me. Who are you, woman?" When he defeats Viola in battle, he will say, "Stop looking into my soul, damn you." When he uses Mormonte Vex, aka when Raphael bites his opponent's neck, he will exclaim, "Strange." There are two reasons this may be. He may recognize the taste of her blood, but this may also be because of the trace amounts of magic in her blood. So, the girls look similar and have many tie-ins, but what if they're twins? Well, that's another theory, but once you analyze everything, the probability that they are the same person increases. Raphael was labeled to as having died in Soul Calibur IV, but we all know that he didn't. The lore says that Raphael had in fact woken up from an endless dream in a dark dungeon. He had no memory of how he had gotten there, but he immediately began a search for Amy. In the meantime, Viola had awoken in the middle of a war-ravaged town. She had absolutely no memory of who she was or what was going on. She only had the orb, the one that she wields in combat. She kept it close in hopes that she would remember. My theory in this is that Raphael had angered the wrong person, perhaps Siegfried, in his effort to steal Soul Calibur, and he and Amy were caught in a battle. In this battle, Raphael was killed and something undisclosed happened to Amy. It's possible her memory was erased on purpose or that she suffered some kind of memory loss from a head injury. I will not say that she is killed because it's clear that Viola is an aged version of Amy. Amy being a young girl, at least under the age of 14, and Viola being a woman over 20. It is clear that during the events of Soul Calibur V, Raphael is still looking for Amy, because in the artwork he is seen holding a skull with a torn ribbon that had been attached to Amy's pigtail in Soul Calibur IV. Now, some may question as to why Raphael doesn't outright recognize Amy when he fights Viola. I find it weird myself, but since their fights aren't canon, they can't give too much away. I also have my own theory. Other than the fact that her hair is a completely different color, and she has aged within the 17-year time span, her outfits do have ways of disguising her at least slightly. Her 1P costume features a hood. Her hood may shadow and cover parts of her face. On her 2P costume, she has a veil covering the lower part of her face. That would greatly hide her appearance, even more so than the hood. Maybe Raphael doesn't recognize her because he really can't see her all that well. Maybe he has inklings, and that's why he demands to know who she is. It's a possibility. It's obvious that with all this proof, there is a grand chance that Viola is in fact Amy. I guess, however, that we won't find out exactly if this is true until the next game, and the only thing we can hope for is that they resolve this plot. Anyway, watch out for my next video. Next time we're going to explore a conspiracy for the medium of music. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.